throwback item. The first motion controller. We're going to take a look at some products, and we're going to have to try and figure out when the actual first time that this first motion controller was invented. Now, it could be 2003 or whatever, or it could be like 1940 when some weird one was invented.
No. So here, Matt, here's the thing. Because we're going head-to-head, I'm going to be the most annoying, pedantic person in the world because I'm going to ask for so many clarifications. Kenzie, what do you mean by first motion controller? Is this for a video game?
Yes.
Is this for, okay, video game motion controller.
All right, so I know that
You throw a guess already?
I'm ready for this. Because if you remember, I was the one who used to look this up. I'm going to destroy you. I'm going to say, right off the bat, I don't even need to deliberate. I'm going to say 1983.
Oh.
No,
you said it. He said it.
Yeah,
Does that
okay,
count?
all right.
I think 1983 is a close answer. However, that makes no sense because nothing came out in 1983. Either it would be NES era, which would be 85, 86, 87. I'm going to say 1977.
Yeah, I'm going to say 83.
The fun thing about this is that you're both right in a way.
What? What? No.
So,
no.
the Mindlink. I don't think this is considered motion control. This was mind control. And I just beat Pac-Man with that. I don't think the Mindlink is considered motion control.
No, because it used your eyebrows. It wasn't like you're using your brainwaves. You're like...
It's motion of your face.
Matt. I win.
But what is actually the first motion controller is the Sega Heavyweight Champ from 1976. Was an arcade game featured a bunch of plastic boxing gloves attached to the cabinet with controls inside. Eat your heart out, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out Champ. You can move up and down. You can go high punches. You can go low punches. You can push inward to punch. You just kind of go like, hey-ya! Kinsey, this is a pretty simple lever action. Is this really the first motion control?
So alternatively,
Listic. I'm going to beat you, Listic.
The Listic was for the Atari 2400. The controller was only made for a few games. It could detect tilt, so you could play it like with pinball and stuff like that. I'm going to argue that this is more motion control than the other one. Because on games like Asteroids, where you have to push the joystick forward, it was a little awkward, but it still was tilt. I think I get the point for this.
Fine, I'll concede. This is straight motion. The
10
other one...
points to Matt.
10?
Yeah. Matt wins it with Listic.
Matt, you better stay away from Listic.
Matt has 20 points. Moving on to the next one. The firstwish.com.
Oh, no.
My time to shine.
No.
For the record, we have slides in front of us. It's just firstwish.com. Smiley face. I'm just going to go ahead and grab this book here for no reason. This may or may not have been from an old version of This Is, which you can catch right up here. I'm just going to be reading while you deliberate what you think your wrong answer is.
Okay. If we're strictly speaking about the actual wish.com, I'm going to guess 2009. But if we're talking about the first scam, like BS kind of website, I'm going to just throw out a website-based answer, 1997. I'm just going to say that because Matt's going to say 1884 when Sears was announced.
Let me just
Some
get
banjos?
a banjo. From the Great Price Maker catalog, I'm going to go 1886.
Can I make a third guess that does not count anyway?
Nope.
Because it's
Yes.
going to say it's like 1242,
Yes,
which is like
yeah.
some pauper wrote out a fake like wish listing and then someone bought something.
I knew it! but I know.
Your version of wish.com is just an old complaint.
it's the oldest documented ripoff.
This was written to a merchant named E. Nasir. He was supposed to be sold copper ingots. However, the copper was substandard. And Nani claimed that his servant has been treated rudely during the transaction, just like you're treated rudely when you don't get your item from wish.com. Other tablets have been found in his dwelling, including another complaining about not receiving copper, and another thing about being tired of bad copper. Matt gets no points for that because
What are you talking?
he was
I get
thousands
roughly
of years off.
3,574 BC points for that one because I wiped the floor with
I'm
you.
sorry to say,
I
Matt,
was so much closer than you.
Inflation has meant that that is 0.001 point or a quarter of an copper ingot. The first Touch ID.
There's a very big difference of fingerprint IDing and fingerprint like biometric. Those are two very different things.
So we're going to have to get around Kenzie's skullduggery and her shenanigans and our pediatrist.
Podiatrist is a foot doctor, FYI. Do you have a foot fetish?
Maybe I need my bunions to be sanded. I don't know what you do with feet. Anyway, foot ID.
Did you just say foot ID? Again, Look, you're all hearing this too, right? Do you still have those sandals from when we scammed Goodwill, which you can watch right over here?
You mean the ones that have the colon button? Yes,
Yeah.
I do. All right. So first Touch ID, I believe, was the Motorola Atrix. Had a very crappy fingerprint sensor on the top of the phone that you had to like swipe. And that was 2011. So I'm going to say 2011.
If we're going to talk about purely on like a device, we had laptops in the 80s with it. But I'm going to go 1600.
What the fuck is wrong with you, Matt? What? 1600?
Medieval fingerprint recognition. To get into this secret society of the Knights of the Round Table, you had to show your fingerprint, which was encased in like a resin mold, which was then pressed into the ring of the table, and you all pressed your fingers to it, and that's how Sir Arthur...
Sorry, what? Are you still talking? Oh.
I'm right on this.
So
We can all be right.
no,
We can all
cannot.
be right. In 500 BC, fingerprints were used on tablets like signatures for Babylonian business transactions. One could argue it's the first Touch ID. That is a point for Matt. Electronic remote fingerprint identification, 1916.
So the Danish police published a book on encoding single fingerprints using Morse code to detail various features. The information could then be sent to telegraphs, telephones, or radio to facilitate IDs, and the FBI actually drawn this research to actually create computerized fingerprint recognition. So 1916 sounds a little closer, but 1975 is when the first digital fingerprint scanner was created by the FBI. So 1975 was the first digital fingerprint scanner. In 1994, Lockheed Martin got the FBI contract to develop their main fingerprint ID system and was operational by 1999. The big problem with the early fingerprint sensors, the digital images were so impractically huge that no one could handle a 16 kilobyte GIF file on their computer.
In 2002, a Seattle supermarket became the first to use fingerprint scanning tied to debit cards as a payment method. If you wanted to steal your partner's credit card, all you had to do was chop off their finger. Also in 2002, a Japanese hacker demonstrated how to use gelatin and digital imaging to fool fingerprint scanners with an 80% success rate. I feel like I'm right 3 times there because all of my answers were closer than yours. You said 2011.
Yeah, and you said 1600, which means that anything past 1800 means I'm right.
We're doing Price is Right rules.
You just said we were going to do that.
Still sounds like I'm
No,
more right
3 of
than
the
you.
4 answers mean that I'm right. I get 3/4 of a point.
Time is relative, okay? You were thinking of it like, oh, it's a modern thing. I said it was a much older thing. It's not the exact dates. It's the eras. I can think of it broad. I can see the 4D chess here that's going back eons and eras.
Never play D&D with you.
Kinsey, do I get all 12 points? Say yes and we'll move on.
Don't let him hold you hostage like that. Have more faith and confidence in yourself.
How about the first touchscreen?
The first touchscreen, which of course was Steve Jobs' invention because no one had ever touched a screen before.
You do
Steve Jobs
realize
said
that things happened before the year 2000, right?
What's the laser things that would like run across a screen so it would like detect where you had like touched it? That was actually like a 70s or an 80s invention.
I'm gonna get creative with mine. I'm gonna say in the 50s. Not a actual touchscreen like this one.
Okay.
But one of those like the magnetic toys where the pen would have a little magnet in it.
Oh, it would detect where the magnet is.
Yeah, and you can draw on it.
I will give you a decade-long answer. I'm going to say the 1970s.
70s? Okay.
Yeah.
50s versus 70s.
1946! It was a stylus that would add the original signal of an intermediate CRT when placed on the display, which is used to draw circles and arrows over live sports broadcasts. That's pretty close. That actually sounds exactly right.
And then the next one.
Ooh, 1965 was the first finger-driven touchscreen. Your finger is the conductor and it disrupts the capacitance of that top layer to essentially show where the touchscreen is being used. I could argue pedantically, podiatristly, that the finger-driven touchscreen was the actual one in 1965. I'm going to give this to you, Matt.
I'm going to say I am the most correct, but I think I'm going to give you the point for this one because yours is the most modernly accurate.
Are you giving me a pity point for being kind of okay
No,
on
I
this
just
one?
feel like arguing with you, so like... It's
What? You can't even let me give it to you?
fine,
Well, then, why
50
don't you-
points to Matt.
Anyway, why Matt is even more wrong is that the first touchscreen phone was actually in 1994. It was the IBM Simon personal computer. It was a decade ahead of its time. It was actually kind of similar to something like an Apple Newton or maybe like a cell phone or maybe even like a Palm. However, it could receive faxes, emails, had an address book, calculator, notepad with a solid hour of battery life.
So I like how you said it was like all those things, but all of those things that you said it was like, use styluses. So, point to
Like?
Matt.
I'm going to throw a foot at you. Oh,
The
God.
first online game, 1976.
Care to elaborate?
No. Because I am taking a wild shot in the dark with this one.
1976. Okay, so, I mean, my first thought is something like Doom or Quake, but that's way too late, right? It's going to be something early. It's going to be one of those, like, MIT, like...
I vaguely remember something like Pong or something that was able to be played.
You say 1976?
I'm going to say 1976. I do not know.
1965 to be contrary.
Corresponding chess. The Byzantine Empire. So were they just mailing each other like
C2 to C5 or whatever?
back and forth? That had to have taken years to play.
Yeah. Well, it's okay because they're rulers and they could have their minions go back and forth.
Did they go to war over this game of chess?
That's actually true. I'm just going to tell you right now.
So we'll get a little bit more realistic and reasonable.
Space War
1962!
A two-player space dogfight was meant to demonstrate the technical capabilities of the PDP-1.
This was using 2 players on 1 CRT, so it was basically split screen more so than online gaming.
So while originally it was all on the same CRT, which is not online, there was a small group of programmers who were able to port it over to Plato, which was an early form of the internet.
Basically, they could log into a powerful mainframe and borrow that computing capability on what was a much less powerful system.
So I remember reading about this,
Yeah.
which is why I said 1976. I totally guessed at this one, but I did remember reading about
I
think you get the point because you said the 70s. Like, that's when it was actually online.
I said 60, you said 70.
Oh, then I get the point because
Yeah,
I'm right.
This is like an actual fair map point.
Fair map point, which is worth triple, right?
So wait, what's the score now?
So if we add up all the points, because we haven't been keeping track, I'm pretty sure it is 140,000 to 2?
2.5.
Let us know who you think won this competition. I believe it's Matt, but I could have mathed wrong.
You might
So
have been off by a couple thousand years.
let us know in the comments of some other tech you want us to take a look at and see how old that actually is. Take a look at some of our older versions of these videos. They were a really fun time. Like, subscribe, follow everywhere, and we will catch you in the next one.
Where I will podiatristically...
No more feet!